Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody. Happy December. Welcome to Good for Bitcoin. And I don't know what it is about the theme song today. It just has me hyped. I'm feeling energized and ready to go.
I agree. I think it's the month too. I love December. I just love the spirit of the holidays, but there's just something about coming to the end of the year and looking back on everything that you've done, that you've accomplished. It's a good feeling. So
you
I'm
and me
you.
both. I love the holidays.
Me
Been
too.
listening to Christmas music
Me
nonstop.
too.
I am one of those people.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, things are not slowing down though. I feel like
No.
this week in particular has been so busy.
I agree. It's crazy. Yes, it's I guess that's in true Stacks fashion. I guess we launch a bunch of awesome things at the end of the year. But we had some really cool things to talk about, which is great for us. But it has been a busy week for sure.
Busy week, prepping for a lot of announcements. Also prepping for announcements that we can't talk about yet, which might also be coming out within the next few weeks. Yeah, to your point, I agree. Stacks definitely does not let its foot off the gas in December. Last year, we had Nakamoto and sBTC go live, and now we have Circle that's going to be launching very soon, and more things, the TBD that are all going to be announced. So yeah, we've been very busy, but good busy, because that means that a lot of cool stuff is coming right around the corner.
So true. My New Year's resolution is to get my Wi-Fi situation figured out, because I'm kind of glitching in and out right now. My office is very much like a concrete box, and I've tried to fix it, but sometimes it's just a no-go. So if I just don't respond or talk to you, just understand that that's what's happening. It's a little bit frozen, but we are working through it.
I did do the show by myself that one time, and it was absolutely terrible. So hopefully we don't lose you. But,
I'll be here,
yeah,
just
you gotta
delays
get,
a little bit anyway.
Get some wired Ethernet connections or
Honestly,
something through the house.
The Ethernet is a good play, I think.
Yeah.
My boosters, I have boosters set up. That doesn't seem to work that well. I've tried unplugging it, plugging it back in. Doesn't seem to work. So I think Ethernet is my main course of action here.
Yeah. Well, maybe Santa will get you some Ethernet cables.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. That's what every kid wants.
Yes.
Everybody wants for Christmas.
I could see you
Some
wanting
Ethernet,
that for some
Cat 6.
reason. I for sure could see that on your list.
Well, anyway, it's been
That's funny.
a very productive week. I think it shows that we are definitely in kind of a little bit of a bear market, because there's been a lot of really bullish news that's happened this week. But, if you look at the price, if you look at sentiment on X, you would definitely not think that was the case. But that's what we're here to talk about. Is there's a lot of things that are good for Bitcoin that are happening, and a lot of public company news too. I kind of shifted. Normally we talk about public company news first, and then we get to other news. But most of this week is just public company news, so we're just going to talk about a lot of positive stuff that's happening. Yeah, I'm sure that more companies bought Bitcoin, but big news with Strategy this week was, for one, they bought 130 BTC solely to reach that sweet milestone of now owning 650,000 Bitcoin, which is a lot of Bitcoin.
Crazy.
But also I think it was over the weekend that Sailor originally posted this like green dot on their Bitcoin tracker, and everyone was like, what does that mean? And there was like a lot of FUD on the timeline of speculating that like they were selling Bitcoin or like, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation, not in a good way, on what they were doing with it. And they announced this week that they had established a $1.44 billion USD reserve, so dollars, to support the payment of dividends on their preferred stock and interest on their outstanding indebtedness, their outstanding debt. They used a fancy word for it, but yeah. So basically, they announced this USD reserve of $1.44 billion, which is a lot of money, but that's going to basically ensure that they're not going to have to sell their Bitcoin in the near future, which is obviously a very good thing. But yeah, I'm curious from what you saw, maybe speculation on it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have paid much less attention to strategy in the last like 6 months. For something about it, like the over financialization of Bitcoin for some reason just like makes me kind of check out a little bit around it. I would be like nervous to see what would happen if they do have to start just like selling a ton of Bitcoin to start covering it. I imagine they have like a much better play than that, but I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see on this one.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that a lot on the show, on like kind of being a little scared of all these treasury companies taking on debt to acquire more Bitcoin, and what that would mean, you know, if Bitcoin was to go down and if they were going to be forced to liquidate, and that would just cause this cascading terrible event of all these companies selling their Bitcoin, which would obviously just nuke the price. But in Strategy's case, they have, you know, all of these like preferred stocks, like there's STRC, and like there's all these different ones that we've talked about over the year, basically, that they've been issuing them. So they have to issue dividends on those stocks. So obviously they need money to issue those dividends. And then they also do have some debt that they've taken out that they need to pay interest on. So how is that, you know, how are those dividends going to get paid for? How is that, you know, interest going to get paid for? It's going to get paid from this big USD reserve that they now have, this $1.44 billion. So basically Strategy can keep their Bitcoin. They can continue to raise new money through these various stock offerings that they have, and they can continue to kind of keep the whole thing afloat now because they have this big bucket of cash that they can use. It doesn't sound like they're holding on to this big bucket of cash to make some big Bitcoin purchase in the future. It's like literally just to like service the debt and service the dividends, so that that side of their business is sort of taken care of, and then now they can focus on just continuing to acquire Bitcoin in the future.
I wonder if at some point they would like develop a strategy where they take a certain portion and explore like Bitcoin layers as an option for yield. Obviously, I could never see them taking like a huge sum of it, but do you think it's like regulatory compliance still that's holding it up? I can't imagine why they wouldn't experiment with it.
I think, I don't know if it's regulatory compliance. I think it's purely just risk.
Yeah,
I feel like they have
still.
I feel like they have talked about like lending their Bitcoin out to like get revenue. So maybe we could see like Strategy like become an LP, you know, somewhere in the future. But yeah, I think it's just like a risk, like, you know, keeping it on the L1 and not, you know, just not risking it with like custodians and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, with the news, they also increased the STRC, which I think is pronounced stretch. Their dividends are now 10.75%. And then despite all this, their MNAV, I checked this morning, is less than 1. So it's 0.886, which basically means that the Bitcoin that they are holding, their market cap of Strategy is worth less than the Bitcoin they're holding, which is a little confusing, but it's just the way the markets price it, I guess. So there's two other pretty big news items with these other two public companies. One is 21. So 21 shareholders have voted to initiate the merger and take the company public. We talked about them a long time ago. I feel like that was like back, it's like back in like Bitcoin Vegas, I feel like was like around the time when this got announced initially. This is the big public company between Jack Mallers of Strike and Tether and SoftBank. And they are originally it was you could invest in it now, but it was through like Cantor, also Cantor Fitzgerald. You were like buying like the CEP ticker. Now they're going to be moving to the actual 21 ticker, which is XXI, and this is set to happen on Tuesday, December 8th. So that merger is going to happen, and they will officially become 21, and they will be able to start buying Bitcoin, which is kind of the theme. Very similarly, we had ProCap BTC, which is Anthony Pompliano's company. He's the CEO of. They also voted to initiate the merger and take their company public. That's expected to close today. That's a merger between Columbus Circle Capital Corp and ProCap BTC, going to be under the ticker BRR. And Pomp also announced that 100% of the equity compensation for him and the board of directors will be tied to performance milestones. So, they are incentivized to grow their Bitcoin stack and, to improve those numbers. So for me, the big takeaway is there's been a lot of talk this year about Bitcoin Treasury Companies. But most of these Bitcoin Treasury companies that have gotten announced this year have not actually been able to execute and buy Bitcoin because they've been waiting for these mergers to go through, these SPACs and things like that. So a lot of them have made like an initial purchase of Bitcoin back when they were announced, months and months and months ago, but they've kind of just been sitting on their hands since then. So
yeah,
my big takeaway is we now have like these two companies that as of next week will both be able to start buying Bitcoin, and it kind of finally feels like maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel for some of these Bitcoin treasury companies that have been just declining month over month in their stock prices, and that they'll actually be able to start buying Bitcoin, and we'll start to see some buy pressure on Bitcoin again. So I am personally pretty excited by all of these announcements this week on the treasury company side.
Are you going to be buying XXI?
I don't know. I think I'm still a little bit soured on a lot of these treasury companies. I think the last one that I bought was Nakamoto, and I was like, it had crashed a lot, right? It went from like $30 to like $3, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy some. But the thing with stocks is like it can just keep going down. So I think I'm like. I think I'm down like 3x on that position, and I've lost a couple thousand, but it's okay. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep acquiring Bitcoin. Seems like a safer bet these days.
Yeah, that's good advice.
On that thought, though, we've also been talking about Zcash a lot on the show lately, but they also have gone down a lot in price. They crashed they're currently under $400. Just a couple weeks ago, they were above 700. So I guess we can continue to keep our show title as Good for Bitcoin and not change it to Good for Zcash.
That's funny. I mean, I still think privacy is going to be like a very popular topic. I know it's like things that even in our own ecosystem we're looking at. So I don't see this as the end of Zcash. I don't know what happened, but I still think this is going to be like a relevant, like a investment that people make, and I still think privacy as a whole is still going to be pretty huge. But yeah, we'll keep the ticker Good for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree. I think like obviously privacy matters, and it's worth paying for, but maybe not necessarily at the premium that Zcash was at just a few weeks ago. But yeah, there will always be a need for privacy. Just like there will always be a need for, making your Bitcoin more productive as Bitcoin continues to get entrenched in our financial system. Like you're going to want to be able to do things with it. You're going to want to be able to lend it, borrow it, trade it, do all the things that something like Stacks lets you do. So regardless of price, like it's just those fundamental things of like privacy being like a human right and wanting to be able to do more things with your Bitcoin, and Bitcoin just being DeFi and needing DeFi to enable that. Those aren't changing no matter what the price says. Yeah, definitely something that I've been thinking about a lot. You put this story in here about S&P having opinions on Tether, which I think is interesting, but I want to let you take this one.
Okay. Okay, we're good. Yes. Okay. So I saw this one. I thought this was kind of ironic, but here we go. So the S&P downgraded USDT and Tether this week. And basically this just means that they rank them as like more riskier based on the reserves that they hold. So they rank them, they used to be constrained, and then they bumped them down to weak, which is the lowest score on the stablecoin scale. And yeah, basically they're just saying that like the assets that they're holding, Bitcoin and gold in particular, are just like too volatile. And so, a lot of people thought this was pretty harsh because it turns out that they're holding more, or they bought more gold than every other central bank combined, which is insane to me to think about. And basically people are arguing like they're actually more liquid and better collateralized on paper than the vast majority of the banks. And so there's kind of just the disagreement comes from what people think safe reserves actually mean. So, obviously Tether is investing heavily in gold and Bitcoin. They view those as hard assets. But yeah, there's kind of this, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know why they would look at buying gold as risky. I could understand Bitcoin like from the S&P's perspective. Like, obviously I know we have a different perspective on that, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. But I mean,
it is interesting.
Yeah. What do you think?
Do they have like a ranking of like different stable coins that they're like, have they rated like all the stable coins that are out there, or
That's
are they
a good
just
question.
picking apart Tether because they're like the
I am
biggest
not
one?
sure.
Sorry, I know I'm probably putting you on the spot with that one, but I'm curious.
Yeah,
like, what they would
I'm
say
honestly
about, like,
not
Tether,
sure
or,
because
what
they
would
would
say
be
about
like
Circle,
the
USDC or something like that. Like, I almost wonder if it has to do with like the Genius Bill, and like, Tether doesn't technically like fall under the Genius Bill because they're outside of the U.S. Something like Circle does. So I wonder if it's like kind of a more political thing, and that's why they're also sort of rating it, but they're not like saying that specifically.
Yeah, I'll look that up and I'll let you know, because that is like of the stable coins. Like, I don't know how you could rank them weak or not that that's what they're ranking them on, but I don't know how then they would all be ranked weak. So I'm just not I'm not super sure. I'll look into this though, because I think it's crazy.
Well, like Tether is doing things differently compared to like USDC, for example, because they're pretty much putting everything in like US backed like treasury bonds, and that's like it's all, like all cash equivalents. So they're, I could see, compared to that Tether might be like riskier, I guess, like on paper, but like they have a pretty diversified portfolio, and it's all in like hard assets, like gold and Bitcoin and like land too. I think they're also like investing heavily in land.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. It just seems like, maybe on paper like riskier, but like in reality, not really. They're just such a huge company at this point that I don't know. It's hard to argue.
And like their CEO made some comments, and he was obviously probably upset by it, but like they're bringing in around $500 million a month in interest from their treasury holdings, which is like an insane number. And then also they have more than 10 billion in profit a year.
That's insane.
I know.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think the most profitable company per employee.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot on here.
Yeah, it's crazy. Another couple small things. One is Polymarket has started rolling out in the US. I guess they're starting with like sports betting, but that is officially now available. Not something that I'm into, so I won't be downloading it, but pretty cool to see them at least entering the US market finally. And then Vanguard has finally allowed Bitcoin ETFs on their platform. They were kind of one of the last remaining holdouts, and if you can't beat them, you got to join them. So
there you go.
Yeah, you can buy Bitcoin on Vanguard now.
Super cool.
I think that kind of wraps it up for most of our news. We do have something that's really exciting that's happening next week, which is we're going to be doing a little giveaway. We're going to do a little sBTC giveaway. We have Zero from Zero Authority, Stacks legend, is going to be joining us to discuss Zero Authority, to discuss on-chain identity and reputation. And we'll be hosting. I think we're going to be giving out like $100 in sBTC, nice. And there's going to be 4 or 5 winners that'll receive like $20 in sBTC. All you have to do is watch the show next week, and and post about it. So go to zeroauthoritydao.com, register there, be ready for that. And it'll be a fun show talking with Zero. He always brings the energy. So it'll be really, really fun to have him on. And yeah, a little holiday Bitcoin giveaway.
Love it. Yeah, that's going to be a fun show. It'll be fun to have a guest on too.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I think that wraps it up for the week. Kind of a shorter week, but a lot of good news coming out. Yeah, I know we kind of rapid fired through some of it. But yeah, go subscribe to the show. Go to goodforbitcoin.com. Give us a rating too. We would love to have some more ratings, just some more visibility. Anytime that we get ratings, I do feel like the viewership of the show does actually go up. So it does actually make a difference. So if you want to get us something for the holidays, go rate the show. Goodforbitcoin.com. We are also live streaming on YouTube as well as Twitter, but youtube.com/@goodforbitcoin. And I think that wraps it up. We will see y'all next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.